terribly formal when we roll into this, so
Do the cold open.
the cold open, like we just did right there.
Did it just hit?
Yeah, we're live and off and running here. So
He's way more cold than we are, though.
that's true. Today's guest on location from Durango, Colorado, Brandon Waddell. So we were discussing last names to get started here, but I have Jason with me again today.
I'm not rotating my shoe trees today, so
He's not, so you never know where he's at. Where he's like a Where's Waldo a lot of times when we do podcasts. So I'm fortunate enough to have a cohort. But Brandon is the owner of Mountain Archery Fest. He's working, getting ready to hit the road. We're about ready to kick off events for you. We're going to talk about that. We'll talk about a lot of things. And, we've been kind of scouring through and doing a little bit of research on the webpage because, you just have so much going on at these events and just cool stuff, Obviously, it's centered around archery, but we want to talk about all the other things that you do, which I think just have amazing uniqueness and maybe where some of those things came from. But let's just talk about, how in the world do you get Mountain Archery Fest started and what's the vision and all that kind of thing? I mean, tell us about that, kind of your journey to get to, this circus that you created.
It was an interesting journey. It was one that me and a friend had given some thought about doing this kind of project, and we actually approached Sean with Total Archery Challenge many years ago about bringing his event down to Purgatory, Colorado, our backyard here. And he wasn't really interested in doing that. Just the location didn't fit his parameters. And so then, after visiting a few of his and kind of going through that, that was kind of my and Matt Howell's vision is that, we just wanted it to be more family oriented. We wanted to have more children there, more women there. We wanted to have just a different feel, a different aspect to it. But, me and Matt really didn't have the time, both working full-time jobs, raising kids, doing our thing, kind of got put on the back burner to some degree. And then I had a gentleman approach me about joining with him doing something along the lines of what Mountain Archery Fest has become. And we partnered up, started doing that. I got about $60,000 worth of targets put on the ocean coming here from Australia. Excuse me. And on a handshake. And, that was in light of the relationships I've built in this industry. I had a lot of stuff working on my side. He hired me to basically be the mountain manager, build courses, build the base of this event, and he was going to do the upper infrastructure, contracting, locations, sponsorships, that kind of thing. And, we started getting involved in it and started getting going. And next thing I knew, this gentleman needed to step out. He had to kind of step out, take care of some stuff in his own personal life, for himself, his marriage, his family. And then kind of was like, here I was, with all these handshake deals from the relationships I have in the industry. And so then I'm kind of going back to my wife saying, okay, I'm either going to become a Target retailer or distributor here in the United States, or we're going to, push forward with this event. And my family decided to jump behind me on this and walk the plank, and the rest is kind of history in a way. We buckled down, me and my wife and my kids, and my mom. We and a couple of friends of mine jumped at the chance at doing our first two events, our first year, which was 5 years ago, and we went and set it up, and we did it, and the response was fantastic. Our first two events, we didn't get very many people there, but every person that showed up said, this is special. There's something about this that we really like. And so it kept us going year to year. And that's kind of, the short story of how it evolved, to a degree. And then now what you see as Mountain Archery Fest now is just a huge extension of who I am, and the values that I uphold in my, for my life, that I try to uphold every day, right? I'm not a perfect person. But you know, in the short of it all, it was a circus that just became a bigger circus.
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, anytime I think you get into, event-based businesses, I mean, that's we're obviously making light of it, but there is that element of it, right? You are trying to create something that draws people to a specific location, and an event that has a theme or something that's driving people there that they either have a passion for, they want to learn from, whatever that might be, just to get away sometimes. And at the end of the day, in order to pull these things off, it takes an army, right? And you have to have a ton of people, and you have to have so much organization. Like you've kind of mentioned, the back end of a lot of these things logistically and administratively is a ton of work. And when you get to the actual day, I know you and I had an offline conversation at the Colorado Bow Hunters, and you were saying how, you finally have reached a point where, last year, I think it was, or something like that, you finally had staff like, hey, go away. Like, we've got this figured out, and it takes a long time to get to that point where you're capable of having people that understand how things are supposed to work and how to execute. And the hay is kind of in the barn by the time with the day that the event starts. And that's what you want, is to then just kind of push it out in front and say, all right, ready, set, go. But the amount of man hours that you put in on the front end in order to get there is where really you make your money, right?
It is where you earn it. I'll tell you that. Once we get in the semi and we embark on our travel and we get out there, there's a lot of hard work on the ground. There's no doubt. But that's when we're actually out in the woods. We're on the mountains. We're out there with each other. And you get to see the fruit of your labor all come together. And that's
right.
Exciting. But in the off season, it's a ton of work. There's so much that, the life of an event director is very interesting. It's one of those things. Sorry, hold on.
We got a cough button.
I've been talking all day and I haven't had any problems, and now it's like my sinuses want to drain. But so
need more coffee.
You're right. I should have a little. The event director life is a stressful job. I'll just be honest. Like for me, coordinating cats in a bathtub that has an inch of water in it it's a science to some degree, and then it's just by the seat of your pants.
Right.
I've never been an event director before coming on board and doing this MAF event. When I took this job with my partner, setting up courses, setting up physical competitions, setting up, the lay of the land, if you will, and that kind of thing. That for me was like a no-brainer. That's easy for me to see, geologically and everything in the big brain, looking down on these courses, on these mountains, and shot angles and directions of, courses laying out and all that is like, that in my mind is super simple to do. But
right.
Incorporating the relationships that I had in the industry and bringing the top side down to the bottom side and all that stuff in the middle was something that I had to really learn how to do. I had vision of it. I was part owner of a portable restroom company for 7-8 years, and I did special event stuff with a lot of that. That was primarily my job within the company. Balloon fiestas, motorcycle rallies, music festivals, Jeep safaris. All this different stuff that happens in our neck of the woods. I've seen a lot from the outside looking in. Honestly, I enjoyed those challenges of doing that stuff, the logistics and the communication and the execution. It was something that I really liked. I'm a person that thrives on chaos. And I live in that space, and I live there well, which is good and bad, right? But I can tell you that, in the backside of what people don't see and what we have to do in these events in the off season is grueling, more mentally than physically. The physical part is once we get there.
Right.
But I tell you, like you mentioned, I'm surrounded by a crew, and most of my crew is on my board. They're all owners. They all have investment in the company. So we are an employee-ran company, and owned, and that makes a huge difference. And and I've been very fortunate that that God's put people in my path for the right reasons in this company. They have the right skill sets. They have the right mentality. We always joke about the fact that we're like the traveling archery carny family, because it takes a certain breed of person to do special events. I mean, look, we're not to the point of turning a profit just quite yet, and we're 5 years in. So I mean, everybody that works for me and everyone that is on the board, they're all volunteers still. They get some expenses paid. They get, don't get me wrong, my crew is starting to get a little bit of money in their pocket, but I can tell you that, if they're making $500, $1,000 an event, it's nothing. If you took what they make in the event season, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month, and you divide that by the amount of time they put in year-round investing in this, it is pennies on the dollar what these guys are working for at this point in time. And, we all have our own jobs. We all have full-time jobs. We all take time away from our full-time jobs to go do this, and because we're passionate about it, because we love it, because we know that that there's something on the other side of this for all of us.
Right.
And so I could go into grueling details about what our off season looks like. Even though we're a week out from leaving, we have all spent the last 3.5 weeks literally grinding out 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning till 8 or 9 o'clock at night every day, working on our semi, working on targets, working on prep, getting things ordered in, getting all the totes done, getting all the merchandise done, getting all the tents rebuilt, you just can't imagine the amount of backside stuff that happens before you get to an event and you see it just set up, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So it's something. It's something.
Hey guys, just a quick segue here. Take a break from our podcast just to say thank you for watching our page. We hope that you enjoyed today's podcast with Brandon. We hope that you'll check out Mountain Archery Fest and even get out to one of these awesome events. We also want to thank our sponsors such as Pnuma, Cardio Mood, and a whole host of other people that not only do we trust, but things that we actually go out and use when we're in the field, when we're doing our training, or anything else that revolves around us getting better outside and getting better as hunters as well as individuals. We hope that you'll like and subscribe to our page. We greatly appreciate all of your support. We hope that you enjoy the rest of today's podcast. Thanks so much for watching. Now, back to the show.
Yeah.
Well, so let me, you're in the infancy of this event, right? You said you're 5 years in, and it sounds like this wasn't necessarily your brainchild, but something that you happened upon, and then you've kind of made it your own. Talk to me a little bit about how do you avoid the copycat, at least on the front end, right? It's like, oh, it's another mountain 3D archery shoot, right? We know about the other events that happen year round that are like this. How do you guys separate yourself in that space? When you took over, you go, oh, look at these guys are doing this, but I don't like that, so I'm going to do this instead. Talk about how you guys have separated yourself away from your effective, I don't want to know if it's necessarily your competition, but the other events that are run like this. How does Mountain Archery Fest unique and provide an opportunity for the average hunter or somebody like Joel and I that would make us want to go outside the fact that it's down in Durango and it's in our backyard?
Well, I'll tell you, so it kind of started in the beginning, because look, all those other big events that are around the country are our competition, okay? Because there's only so many weekends in a summer, okay? And you're going to fill your weekends with something. And so, you know, you're going to have to look at that from that standpoint. And then from there, you know, I've shot the other events. You know, I've shot Northwest Mountain Challenge. I've shot TAC. I've shot plenty of other state 3D events. You know, I've been involved in ASA shoots competitively. You know, and I just pay attention to what I don't like about those events.
Right.
And I hone in on, is that something, if I don't like it, you know, is it I don't like it because of safety or convenience or timetable or what it looks like or how it's presented.
Locations.
Like, yeah, I mean,
right.
you know, so, you know, so in the very beginning, yeah, not necessarily my brainchild, but quickly I realized that, okay, I go to some of these events and they have, you know, when I was first started shooting the bird and then TAC, it was like, dude, there was no women. None. Okay. I have 9 kids and a wife. And when I would go to these events, I mean, I'd go have fun with the guys and I'd really enjoy it. But, you know, my world revolves around my family. Okay. So there was always a level of guilt when I left to leave for 3 days. Right. And then it got to the point where then some of my kids, they wanted to go. Well, they go, but they hate it because it was way too long of courses. It would take too long to shoot. Too many people on each pin, too big of groups, too many big cameras on the courses, you know. And so quickly I realized, you know, what I wouldn't allow, right? And then what does that look like? What does that mean? Why would I not allow all these big cameras and all this hype and all this stuff on my stuff? It would totally benefit me as a free advertising piece and things like that. Well, why not is because we're out there because we want to shoot our bows. That's what I came here to do. So, you know, boiling some of these events down to the core purpose of what you're trying to really accomplish is important, right? And so that's something I learned there. Then I go and I see stuff that I do like. For instance, at other events where they have camping on site and they've got a family plan, or they've got discounted pricing for kids, and, you know, or they have more opportunity for children and more opportunity for women to be there, a more inclusive event. And I think to myself, this is cool, but it's not the caliber I want. It's not the size I want. It's not the impact that I want. It doesn't have enough growth and opportunity for growth and variety. Right? So then I say, okay, I take the positives of that and I say, okay, I can take that positive and then how can I 10x that positive? Right? So I started looking at it really from that logistical mindset in the beginning, right? And then from there, I decided that the only real way to make something super unique is to really pour your own self and your own mantra, beliefs, your own, you know, who you are. Put who you are in the event. Make it who you are. Because look, every human being is an individual, right? Every human being has their own awesome, great features and good, awesome values and their uniqueness. So I started taking some of that, you know, that emotional side. I started taking the logistical side, and I tried to just kind of create that overlap of that wise mind theory, right? And so then I look at all that, and I say to myself, when I look at my event, I say, you know, I like, you know, some of these events, they have no competition. They're just all recreational. You know, some people in the hunting and archery industry think that whole recreational thing has actually caused a lot of negativity in the hunting side. Because, you know, these guys come out there and they're just shooting for fun and they're launching arrows at long distances. They get good at doing this, and then they think they can shoot an animal that way. You know, there's lots of different things, the way to look at that. And so for me, right out of the gate, it was like, okay, it's got to have a family spin, right? That's who I am. It's got to have family. I recognize that right away. I love going to archery shoots, but I don't like going to sausage fests where there's no women, there's no kids, there's no nothing, right? It's like, you know, I want to see families. I want to see women out there shooting this. I mean, why would you not cater to the fastest growing segment in the sport? Why would you not specifically cater that? You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, it seemed like a no-brainer to me. So
Right.
that was my family piece. Then from there, I love the camping aspects. We made it apart. If I can't get camping at a venue, it's out. Plain and simple. Done. I don't give a crap how nice it is, how great it is, how perfect location, blah, 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 blah. Even if they paid me to come, nope, ain't going. No camping. So, and then from there, you know, that the base logistics, you know, picking an event location is something that if I wouldn't take my family there, if I didn't feel safe there, if I didn't feel valued there, from a family standpoint, maybe even from a political standpoint, even from, you know, just logistically, like I won't go to California. I won't. You won't see me in Oregon, Washington, or California. They do nothing about those states support my values at all. I don't want to go give them my money.
Right.
Most all the resorts are all liberally owned. They're all owned by big corp. They're all, you know, it's just a whole other world that I don't support. So I'm not going to go there.
Right.
Nothing against the people. There's quality people in those states that I would love to serve. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But it's hard for me to take my family somewhere where I can't protect myself, where I can't protect my registrants. I can't do it. And so
Yeah.
there's a lot in there. I mean, it can go deep on the levels that I think here. And a lot of people might think, well, that's excessive. That's, you know, this and that. Well, you know what? It's not excessive when you consider that I'm thinking about your well-being as well. If I won't take my family there, I'm not going to ask you to take your family there.
Right. For sure.
You know, then from there, you guys, it branches out into the courses even. You know, I mean, I have a competitive element on Saturday. Why? Because I'm competitive. I'm a competitive person, right? Everybody should have a competitive spirit to some degree. It can get a little crazy for some people, right? But everybody should have a piece. You know, there should be a course that represents conservation. That's a key piece to who we are and what we do out there, and it belongs in a piece of what we're doing. Hence our Pope and Young World Record course, right? I mean, that means something. Then from there, you're stepping up into a course that each course graduates you up a little bit more and more. You know, our Onyx Exotics course is a next level up from, you know, our world record course is a beginner course. There's not a shot over 52 yards. So what a great way to have beginners get involved and learn conservation and ethics and heritage in the sport and all that right in the beginning of the value set of our courses, right? That's awesome. And then move up into the Onyx Exotics course, and that's just a fun course. We got killer exotics from South Africa this year. We got stuff from Asia and Europe. You know, cool stuff for you to come and check out. And so, because I have a fantasy side to me, right? I like sci-fi, I like Star Wars, I like all this cool stuff, you know. It's like, and so you know, we used to call it our fantasy course, right? And so now it's kind of our exotics, and so there's some cool stuff on it. And
Wait, when do I get to shoot Jabba?
oh, dude, I can talk someone into making a mold. You know, that's cheap, I'll tell you that. Doing a mold for a target is expensive. And, I mean, we've looked at some custom ideas, and we're still working on something there, you know, because everybody kind of has their signature 3D target, if you will.
Right.
So we'll see where that all goes. But, I mean, yeah, dude, wouldn't that be badass to have Chewie up there or something, or Jabba, or something cool as could be, right? I mean, some people think we're dorking out right now, but I think it's awesome stuff. So,
hey, there's a little bit of nerd in all of us.
So,
right.
You know, so then, you know, and so that's another fun course as an intermediate course, right? And those are set up grad friendly. You know, I mean, we like to have all disciplines come, ages and abilities. And so then they step into that course and it's fun. It's cool. And so now we've got them hooked a little more, right? Then we say, okay, now why don't you step up into our Western Hunter course? You know, Elite sponsoring that this year, which is killer. And so that's a bunch of hunting scenarios that basically between me and my crew, we talk about our hunting scenarios. I hear people tell me, oh, I had my toes were downhill. I was on this, you know, hard slope, about 18 degrees. This elk was across this 2 different channels that went 3 different ways, the hills. Man, it was really hard to gauge how far he was, but I was able to range, and it was just but even when I drew back, it was hard to keep my third right and my bubble right, because it was like, every which way the ground was going, and my feet were downhill.
Yeah.
Like, and they tell me these stories, and I think that's a shot. Right, that's a shot.
Right.
We need to recreate
For sure.
these kinds of scenarios that we run into on a reality basis out hunting. And I think that that's super important to do, because then those people that have gone through the beginner, the intermediate, more than likely they are wanting to be hunters. More than likely they're ready to go into that next level and execute, real hunting scenario shots where the window's not wide open, your alley's closer together, your height parameters have some restrictions. You may have to kneel, you may have to sit, you may have to, you may be able to put a foot on the pin, but you're going to have to step back with 1 foot to get around and make a shot. I mean, it's all stuff that we have to do in reality in the woods. And so we recreate that in that Western hunt course. And then I think that there's got to be a piece, an element of a little bit more physical nature. So we get to our carbon course. Usually that course is our longest course, has most elevation change. And then, of course, those shots are just airing your stuff out, man. I mean, like the shortest shot would be 65 to 80 yards. I mean, it's literally, getting people out there just to watch what their equipment does, where you're just hard angles down, hard angles up, long shots.
Stacking pins.
Yeah, just cool stuff, but a completely unethical course, right? Completely unethical. Okay?
At least you're upfront about that.
Yeah, because we talked about that.
We always talk about that because we've shot tack a few times. I'm like, all right, that's like 120-yard downhill, like to an animal that I can barely see. Like, that's just not ethical in any way, shape, or form. Yes, it's a challenge, but it's not a realistic challenge.
No, it's a challenge it's a challenge in understanding the
your archery
skills. Of your archery skills and your equipment, right?
Right.
And then it's also one that you're always going to shoot more than one arrow most of the time, right? So it's also you're getting to see cause and effect. So you get to do immediate changes and see what that does. And that is good for our brain to understand and calculate and consume. Because when you do draw back on that coos deer at 120 yards in the woods, you're going to be like, yeah, not a chance. It's not going to happen. And then, of course, we have our comp course, which is, our comp course is our disabled sportsman's course. That's something we started last year. It's a crossover for our track action chairs and disabled to get on. It's at the base of the mountain. It doesn't require a lift. We tend to clear it a little bit more. It doesn't have nearly the topography. And it triples as a course. So we put some cool kid targets on it, some cool little exotic kid stuff on it, plus the normal things that those kids would hopefully hunt: elk, bear, deer, porcupine, coyote, just different stuff that you'd encounter normally in out hunting, plus some cool stuff. And the reason why is because then it's also our comp course on Saturday. And so I throw targets in there that are brand new every year from all these different manufacturers. No one's ever shot them. No one's pin gapped them. No one has a cheat card. No one has no extra value as a competitor that shoots ASA all the time or any of this other stuff. So it keeps them on their toes. They really have to shoot the ring. They really have to find it and shoot it. They can't just gravitate to where they know it's at because they've shot that target 100 times. So, there's little bits and pieces of who I am there, right? There's conservation and how I believe about those kinds of things. Pope and Young, Rocky Mountain Elk, Sheep Foundation, Mule Deer Foundation, all those. I think everyone should be members of those things. If you hunt those animals, you should be a member.
Right.
And it also leads to your national archery organization, right? The one and only national archery organization we have, Pope and Young. You should be a part of it. If you shoot a bow, if you buy an archery tag, you should be a part of Pope and Young. Period. End of story. right? Not just because John Dudley's now the face of Pope and Young and it's cool, but because there's a real purpose behind it, right?
Right.
And then you should be a part of your state organization. If I draw tags in Arizona, New Mexico, Idaho, Colorado, Montana, so I'm a part of their state organizations because I go there and hunt. And then, of course, I'm a part of my Four Corners Bow Hunters Club, my local club, and I do my best to support them as well. And so then you move up into fantasy. Everybody likes fantasy. I like fantasy. I like real-world application in the hunting side. I like going out and screwing around and just tossing carbon and having a good time. And then I like to compete. And I like to do stuff that is physically challenging as well, because that's a piece of who I am. So, we have a physical element every year at our events and different stuff like that, and people that we work with. Hunt Lift Eat's coming on to do a really awesome challenge in Georgia and Purgatory, which is going to be awesome and cool, and hopefully that'll blossom into something else. But from the outside looking in, defining what makes us different. No one has a world record course like I do. No one.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
No one has courses that graduate you in your self-esteem and your ability up, and up, and up, that helps build your foundation in the sport of archery. Not every event encompasses recreational and competitive at our level. Not every event has our size and then also offers other educational aspects. Like, we have seminars in the afternoon. We have guest speakers on Friday night, our Stories and S'mores event. And then, and then we like to have fun. We like to drink a few beers and throw some cornhole. So we have a cornhole event on Friday, and that's way awesome. That's a huge hit at Mountain Archery Fest.
For sure.
And then we got a killer novelty department, which is, we're always adding something new each year, something challenging. And that's how you get into winning stuff. And, these other big events, they're not giving away $30,000 worth of hunts and gear at the end of the year. They're not giving away $6,000 worth of gear every weekend. They're expecting you to show up and buy everything from Vendor Village, give all your money to the shoot, and get nothing back other than the experience to some degree. We're trying to give back all those parameters, you guys, and that's what sets us apart from TAC. That's what sets us apart from Northwest Mountain Challenge. That's what sets us apart from all these other big shoots around the country is that we revolve around the heart of the family. We revolve around making sure that every archer grows in their experience there, grows as an individual, grows as an archer. Our mission is to build each individual archer at every event.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know one of the things Jason and I were looking at and kind of combing through a little bit that falls along the lines of that family piece and the camping piece is you guys have an offering of this, like, I don't know, I'll call it like the all-inclusive, right? And talk a little bit about that, the stay and play experience, because I think that in itself is unique, right? Because there are, you're looking at some of these things, and I was talking to my wife last night or whatever about, something that we have coming up, kind of an offshoot thing that Jason and I are going to do with our friend Gabe in August. She's like, "Oh, that sounds like fun. Can I go?" And I'm like, "Well, you don't have a bag, you don't have a pack, you don't have, all these things that you're going to need. And you guys kind of actually create this like all-inclusive experience that people can just say, cool, I want to go do that." And you almost like create an invitation for them where they just got to show up, right? Like, that I think that and everything that's involved in it. Talk just quickly about that, because, we were kind of like doing the math and we're like, that's a hell of a deal.
It is. Yeah. And what's crazy is that it hasn't taken off at all yet. We're going into our second year of this, and the stay and play package is awesome. I mean, it's the most inclusive and immersive way to get involved into Mountain Archery Fest. So basically, you got to bring your gear, your bow, your gear, your pack, your sleeping bag, and a pillow. That's it. That's all you got to bring.
That's it.
Arrows, water bladder, sunscreen, bug spray, just what'll fit in your backpack and your bow and arrows, and you're there. So it's a flat rate. The starting package is $500 per person. You can fit 4 people in a Davis tent. We set up cots for you with climate pads already set up in there, blown up for you. You roll up. It's set in some of the most beautiful spots on our mountain, which is pretty cool. And then it includes.
You get to keep those climate pads.
You get to keep them.
That's part of the. That's part of the deal.
You get to keep the climate pad that we give you. You get your dinners on Friday and Saturday night paid for. You get your lunches Friday, Saturday, and Sunday paid for. You get $50 in MAF merchandise money. You get $50 in novelty money, which can win you all of the said huge amounts of prizes. You get a free membership, a year membership to Onyx Hunt. You get what else? You get 3.
Your registration.
It's cornhole, 4 entries into your cornhole competition.
Each person gets an entry into cornhole. You get all 3 days of shooting at MAF, so you can be able to shoot every course we got on the mountain. You'll be able to shoot everything we have. And I think that's about it. I think that wraps it.
Yeah,
that's pretty much all you need. You food, sleep, water, and arrows.
You get to shoot everything. You get to be a part of every sub event. You get the dining experience from either our chefs on the mountain or from our food trucks that we have at the events. You get, I mean, it's the most inclusive. And if you add it up all individually, I think it saves you somewhere around $300. Plus, you get a $99 thing to, the Onyx. You get, it's.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting a pad, a subscription, all your food. You get a massage.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot about wilderness.
You got a massage mixed in there. You've got merchandise. You've got novelty shots. Like, just all of that alone, plus your passes.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were to do all those things individually, you'd be in excess of $500. Then you add on top of that your hotel room that you might pay for, right? If you're going to be staying off-site, and it's well in excess of $500.
It's more. Yeah. I think if you were to add it all up, it's over $800 worth of stuff, basically.
Sure, 100%.
Sure, yeah.
I say that's why, like we were doing the math here, going, that's actually a pretty good deal.
It is.
A really
it's
good
a smoking deal, and I can barely get one out of our 5 tents range each event at this point.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Bizarre to me because think about that. You can just literally just throw your normal. For me. All I'd have to do is start my truck and go. I have a sleeping bag. I have a bow. I have my pack. I mean, that stuff stays in my truck year round. Like, it doesn't ever come out unless I'm using it.
Right.
And so, I can literally just go out and start my truck and drive to a MAF event, and I'm in for the whole weekend for $500.
Yeah.
And
you can't even get a hotel room for 3 days for that much.
You can't. I mean, it's.
Well, some of these towns that you guys are into are like ski resort towns, right? And so when you're in ski resort towns, you pay ski resort prices. Whether you're in season or not in season, it's still expensive.
I mean, we worked some good deals with some of these guys for some hotels, which maybe that's part of my downfall as to why I've not renting the tents.
You're cutting yourself off at the knees.
Exactly, but
you should tell them to jack up the rates until you sell the tents.
Bad business there. I appreciate you guys bringing that up because it really is. I mean, everybody who's done one, what's funny is that every family or group of people who have done one have already rented theirs for this year. That's everything about MAF experience that you're going to encounter if you show up. If you come once, you will come again. We have over 80% retention rate year to year to year. That's huge.
That's awesome.
And that's a testament to what we do and how well we do it,
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, and I think that, all the things that you've kind of gone through, right? Like, you've given a pretty broad stroke picture of that uniqueness, right? Like, I think I've asked one question in 45 minutes.
Well, I think your passion about this certainly comes through when you talk about it. You can definitely tell how involved you are in the process and how much you truly believe in your product. And I think that comes through, the genuineness comes through, that would make somebody go,
sure.
all right, I got to go try this thing. And like you said, once they try it, they're sold. That was kind of our experience initially when we did TAC, was we're not really sure. And then we had a hell of a lot of fun camping and hanging out with our buddies. And we're like, all right, this was a lot of fun. Now, and I would look forward to coming to a MAF event the same way, right? Like once that bridge has been crossed, now it's like, well, shoot, any of these events that happen, I want to go do one because of the community. Obviously the event is what it is, but I think it's all the ancillary pieces that make going to these events even more fun. It's the community of hunters that you get to be around. It's meeting people that have similar interests, or have, or sharing stories around a campfire while drinking whiskey and BSing with your buddies. Like that part, I think, is where the passion comes in, and you can absolutely hear it in your voice when you talk about this.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think, as you kind of inch your way towards this, right, it's building up this culture and this tribe of people, right, that then I think just gradually start to carry the torch, right? And I think the hard part being at the front of that, where you're the one that was running out ahead of it at 10 miles, trying to get everyone else like, come on, man, I'm telling you, like this is going to be great, right? You just have to start lighting more torches, and that stuff is what manifests where, as you said, you're 5 years in, and at some point, based on your passion, and at some point based on all the work and effort and man hours and all that you do, you'll be an overnight success, right? We laugh about that stuff all the time because most people don't see that, right? They don't understand the effort and all of the work and the stress that goes into getting to this point. And a lot of times, I know we've experienced it in some of the endeavors that we've done, where it can be very daunting, mentally, emotionally, and those types of things, where you're just like, man, if I could just get everyone to understand it, right? And as Jason said, you can see that in that's why I'm like, man, just, let him roll, right? Because you can see how much, thought you've put into it. Your why factor is a huge part of that, right? Like you have to have that aspect of it. And I know when you and I had met, I did, our buddy Armando, you and I had a really great conversation about him and the relationship you have with him. For those of you that don't know, Mondo from Bow Hitch, and we were talking about that, and he had, I entered his, contest that he just recently had, which was his Random Acts of Kindness, which is an amazing thing. And if you haven't seen that, definitely be sure to be on the lookout. He does it every year. And I told him, I'm like, well, I'm going to enter because I want that Axis deer hunt.
Yeah.
That's it, right? And he hits me up and he's like, hey, man, you won. And I'm like, is it the deer hunt? And he's like, no. He goes, it's a registration to Mountain Archery Fest. And I was like, well, that's awesome. I said, but I'd rather support Brandon and pay if I go. So let's get more people that, would really appreciate that opportunity. And, I want to support people that we trust, people that we, want to, spend our money and our time with. And I'm like, not that I didn't want to, like, oh, sweet, I'll take something for free because everyone likes that. But I'm like, give that to someone who will be like, yeah, let's freaking rock, man. Like I get to actually go to this event that I wouldn't have gone to before, where I want to go anyway. And I'm happy to pay because I want to support people that I know have put so much work into these things. And that's just kind of how I operate. Not that I, want to pass up on, free 99 is always nice too.
Well, I'll tell you, that's awesome in two ways, right? One, I appreciate your support and the value that you place on what we do and how you feel about that. But also paying it forward is just an awesome thing, right? Not everybody's fortunate enough to do that, and, we recognize that from a MAF standpoint as well, that, we even offer a volunteer program, okay, where maybe you don't have any money, but maybe you got a little bit of time. Maybe you got some muscles. Maybe you got some brains. Maybe you got, something that can add value to what we are as the MAF family. And so, we open that door up to people as volunteers. For every 8 hours you put into volunteering with us, you get a free day of shooting. I mean, you come put in 8 hours in an awesome, friendly environment and having a good time, and then you get 16 hours worth of fun if you get yourself out of bed at 6 a.m. You'll have a blast all day long. And, and so, because not everybody's got money right now. The world ain't clicking like it ought to be right now, right? And so,
for sure,
so that creates an opportunity for some people. And so, I thank you for your comment. I thank you for paying it forward. You're right. The pass went to someone who's totally stoked. And like you said, that, man, I wouldn't have come if I wouldn't have got it for free, because I got a little gas money involved. I got this, I got that, and it's just hard for me to swing. And so it works out. And I appreciate that a lot.
Awesome.
And you're right, dude. Armando, what's crazy about most of the vendors that are in our MAF family, they are not just vendors. These are people that I am good friends with. We have built this passion together. I see how valuable they are to what I'm doing, and it's reciprocated. And, I hadn't known Armando a couple months. Came to Purgatory. I ended up having to make a jet down to Albuquerque to get to Florida. I called him literally. I barely knew him. Met him at a couple of other events in the Four Corners. Invited him to come to Purgatory. He came to Purgatory. I hung out with him for 2 days. On that third night, I'm sitting on his couch at midnight to 3 o'clock in the morning before catching a plane, talking with someone who I feel is one of my closest brothers in my life at this point.
Yeah.
One of the most genuine and supportive people that I know. And he just exudes the highest quality of human life. He's a man who can listen. Okay, let's just throw that out there. Like, he's a great friend and listens well, and he just gives back to the community through his acts of kindness giveaway in January. It is going to be something that is going to be a huge, huge thing in years to come in this hunting community. I can promise you that. He's just barely tipping the iceberg off there. So, and if there's anybody listening that wants to, one, volunteer, two, has something they want to come and display as a product or a service, you just need to reach out to us, because we're always looking at, people to come and join the MAF family on the weekend.
Most definitely.
And we're a good group of people. I've actually had a couple vendors who I've asked to leave because they show up and then they badmouth another vendor or this or that. And so, I just don't put up a nonsense at my events. I don't allow big film crews all over the mountain. My venue, my shooting venue is not for you to make your content. You want to make content, you can prearrange that with me. We can do some work together, figure it out. But you're not just going to show up with 2 8K dragons and 8 people to go up and shoot on a pin that's going to back my whole world up there, and no one can enjoy their experience on the courses, right? And then vendors, they got to get along. Maybe he's got a bow sling, and he's got a bow sling, and he's got a bow sling. But the thing is that not every product is a perfect fit for 100% of the people. So you got to remember that you have uniqueness in your product, and there's uniqueness in the human beings that are going to buy your product. That doesn't mean that guy's a bad guy. It doesn't mean that his product is inferior or superior. Right. It's just different. So, a lot of those things are super important that we kind of think about with our stuff and how and who we bring into Vendor Village. We don't have a monstrous Vendor Village like TAC. One of these days it'll grow a little bit more, but to be honest, we circle the wagons kind of with our Vendor Village, right? And if it's ever going to get to the point where we have separate pieces, then it's not the same. It's not the same feel. It's not the same environment.
Right.
So, Yeah, I mean, I can run down these rabbit holes all day long with how I feel and where my passion's at, like you're saying, and just different
Right.
things. But, you know, we're
Well,
blessed to have this space and to be here, plain and simple.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that this becomes, the next kind of barrier that you cross, right? Which is, you're inching your way towards what you want, right? Which is to see this thing come to life and to the level that you had a vision for it to be at some point. And then when you kind of reach that moment where, you arrive and you're like, oh crap, everything I hoped for is finally like now sitting on my doorstep. A lot of times when that happens for folks, that's where kind of, the rubber meets the road, right? Where people go, it's really easy to then get pivoted or your focus switch.
Yeah,
Because
you get
all
too
of a
big
sudden,
for your britches.
yeah, right. And now all of a sudden,
Right? I mean, it's a good problem to have, right? As you grow the
Yeah.
event so massive and it's so popular that you have those kinds of problems, right? But you've got to kind of wade through the mud to get there first. And then with the amount of foresight that obviously you've put into this event and, to the things that you've already done, you've almost set yourself up for such a moment, right? Where you've got your volunteer base, you've got your hardcore fans, and, obviously you've got some humility as well. And that goes a long way towards, hey, we're not going to outgrow ourselves here. We're going to keep that same small mountain shoot feel where everybody's going to know everybody and nobody's going to be inaccessible to anybody else.
You guys, I don't know if I'll ever reach that point you guys are referencing to because, that's just not my style. Math, if I have anything to do with it, will be worldwide. Okay? Logistically worldwide. As soon as I conquer the U.S., man, I'm heading to Europe. As soon as I get done with Europe, I'm heading to Africa, Australia, anywhere I can go, where I can take archery and make it what we feel it needs to be. And I will keep that small mountain feel. I am not interested in doing cattle call events. I will not have an event where there's 2,000, 3,000, 3,500 people out. It will never happen. I will have multiple weekends in the same location before that happens. I will have more shoots in the area. I'm going to split the United States into 5 quadrants and hold 4 to 5 shoots in each quadrant. And then as soon as I get to that, then I'm going to branch off and I'm going to take my own quadrant. And that's going to be Alaska, Hawaii, and Puerto Rico. And then from there, then I'm going to go and build a European circuit because they don't have anything like what we do here. Nothing like TAC, nothing like math, nothing like what we do.
we're going to have to cut this whole segment out. We don't want to give away.
Right. It's just going to be a whole line of
you know what? I'll tell you what. If people want to chase my dream, more power to them. But it's my dream,
for
and
sure.
it's my goals, and
or they can hitch to the wagon and enjoy the
I'll
ride.
tell you what, they're going to have to work a hell of a lot harder than me to get there because they won't outwork me and how I'm going to make it happen. I'm one of those people that gets up in the morning and this is going to be a good day, and if you can outwork me, then you step on up and let's go. And that's just kind of who I am and how I operate. I plan on, getting math into the trenches of our communities to the level of where, its availability and its access for archery shooters is there, period. That's the goal. That's what MAF is about. Like I said in the beginning, our mission is to help every individual archer. Well, the only way to do that is to provide access, right? And so we've got to be where we need to be. We've got to have enough access for people to get there. Surely I want to make money with this. There's no doubt about it. But really, in the end, this is all about providing an opportunity and enriching the sport, which is underserved and underappreciated. It's an Olympic sport. It doesn't get the value that it deserves at all, in my opinion, across the country and amongst our communities. This is something, it's a sport that builds some of the best morals and values than I can think of anywhere in the world. And so, I think that if everybody was an archery shooter in the United States, this country would look different.
Right.
So that's a crazy thought, but I want to have access to every beginner, and especially kids. We want kids to grow up in this sport. It has the same attributes as in all reality, it has the same attributes as gaming. Okay, it's got immediate cause and effect. It's got repetitiveness. It's got creativity. It's got physical challenge, which is what you don't get there. It's got fresh air, you don't get there. It's got people and social skills involved in it, you don't get there. It takes all these cool things about it, but then it expands it into this amazing stuff that our society and our kids are missing. And so, this plays from so many angles, you guys, for me. Like you said, dude, I'm so passionate about this stuff, you guys. I want it to be awesome. I want it to be epic.
Yeah. Well, I think that's I've never heard that. And I think the parallel you just drew, right, which is anytime you look at trying to make an impact in the future of some of these things and whatever, it's always going to come back to youth. It's going to come back to people that you want to get exposed to, these types of things, and to make that parallel with like gaming, right? Because we see that with it's so predominant in the youth. And even, I just had, one of my college athletes yesterday, he walks in like 15 minutes late and it's a 12 o'clock appointment. And I'm like, bro, what are you doing? I'm like, how can you be late for a 12:15 appointment unless you had car trouble or traffic or there was a wreck or something like that? And he's like, oh yeah, like my alarm didn't go off. And I'm like, what do you mean your alarm didn't go off?
7 a.m.
I'm like, exactly. And he's like, I go, what time did you go to bed? Like 2:30. And I'm like, strike two. And he goes, oh, I play video games with my brother at night. And I'm like, nope. Like, bro, you wasted half of your day by wasting half of your night doing something that has, and now
zero ROI,
unless, of course, there is a crazy amount of people making money off gaming.
Not for him, it's not.
Not for him, it's not.
He's an athlete.
No, it's not working out.
But I'm like, yeah, but you just think about like the compounding and compiling effects of some of those things. And as you mentioned, all of the other aspects of it, right, which is we know what the positive effects of getting outside, getting into nature, right, like the aspects that maybe both of them hold, which is, yes, there's a component of competition. There's a component of, being like stimulated, in those types of things. But then there's X, Y, and Z on top of that have a much higher compounding effect that, oh yeah, by the way, is going to get you out of bed. It's going to get you more active. It's going, the health aspect of it, the psychological aspect of it, all these things that create much higher well-being, mentally, physically, and whatever, hopefully emotionally, although sometimes at these events I don't shoot so well.
It definitely adds.
Your emotional health is a roller coaster.
It adds to your physical, mental, and emotional state. Okay, look, what's the top three things that the outdoors or hunting does for you? It teaches you patience, discipline, and attention span. Right? Patience is the most vital attribute there is in hunting. Without it, your shots, you might miss different things. And, patience brings you to a more socially aware and vigilant view of things, the world, people, your surroundings, right? And let alone, it's all of that creates a natural antidepressant. That's huge. Right? Being outside, shooting your bow, it's a natural mood lifter. Outdoor activity enhances a lot of different things for yourself physically, which turns into your emotional well-being, which turns into, a contentment, right? Getting outside and doing what we do boosts an aerobic and anaerobic capacity. It gets you out and gets you doing some different things. That all of that helps your body, helps your muscle strength, helps your capacity of your blood and everything working through your body. It does all that for you as well. And then it supports connection and bonding, right? With nature,
Yeah.
with yourself, with your hunting buddies, with people around you. While you can do a lot of this alone, most of us don't. And when we do it alone, it really does help us understand ourselves better. It helps us bond better with ourselves and a clearer mental state, a clearer heart, a clearer picture of who we are. And that translates into what we do in work and love and relationships and being a father, being a
for
son,
sure.
being all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
There's so much that this all drives. I mean, and then on top of it, like I said, the cause and effect, the reactionary stuff immediately, being able to work through and program that stuff in your mind, like we were talking about with the carbon course. All of this stuff is stuff that you don't even realize. It translates into your everyday life, and it changes who you are and how you're perceived and how you approach conflict, how you approach hard shit, right? And things that break you down in your life. But when you've got a more stable platform from this stuff, it allows you the capacity to move through things and not away from things. Because in the woods and in archery, you have to move through things. You can't run away from it. Right? So,
100%.
it makes a huge difference. And then if you translate it into hunting, really hunting, then look what you're bringing to the table. Look at the meat you're bringing to the table. Then what does that do for your body? What does that do for your chemistry? What does that do for your respect and your conservation and your ethics? You carry the ethics out of the field into your everyday life, and people will see that. You will attract those people. It'll breed new young people in that sense, and will continue to make this an amazing place to be. And so
most definitely. Yeah, that's very well said. And you're definitely increasing my desire to be down in purgatory. That's for sure. It just aligns so much with, I think, how we look at stuff. We want to make sure that, number one, people know how to find you. You're not hard to find. Social media, very active on social media. Go to Mountain Archery Fest on there. Do you have your own page as
Brandon Waddell _ that's my own page. That gets you a little bit more into my everyday deal. I don't do a lot of posts. I do plenty of story. My posts are sporadic, but they mean something to me when I put them on there. I'm not one of those people that just post every day because I feel like you need to see me.
Exactly.
My story kind of goes along through, cool stuff I find on the internet, to my workouts, to things I'm working on for the day. I mean, I used to be a little bit better about really diving into the event director piece, but overall, I'm working on some of those things. I've had ebb and flows in my life the last 6 months, and so I've had a little bit more personal time for myself here lately. I've been trying to simplify my life some, and find a little bit of, everybody wants to say find balance, but for me, I'm just trying to quiet things a little bit. Come find me at Brandon Waddell _ You can always check us out at Mountain Archery Fest, Instagram, Facebook. We're thinking about starting a TikTok. It's just kind of in the wavering balance there. Who's to say?
You and us both, man. I don't know. Like, everybody's like, you guys on TikTok? And I'm like,
don't do it.
I don't know.
Don't do it.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm on board with that.
Stick to the reels and the YouTube shorts.
Yeah, but
find us there too. Look, if you want to see more about our courses in depth, you can go to our Carbon TV channel. We're uploading stuff on there every 7-10 days, something new there. And then, of course, our YouTube shorts, our YouTube channel is growing immensely here lately, because we've put a lot more focus in there, like Jason's saying. That's been a good play for us.
Yeah,
my kids eat that up. They found a way around the social media thing by going to the YouTube shorts. It's driving me nuts.
I've told Jason's kids, I'm like, hey, could you just put our page on and just like watch it?
Just run it in a loop in the background for me.
Build our algorithm for us, will you, please?
Yeah, please.
Build those viewer minutes up.
If you're gonna waste all that time anyway, at least help a brother out, right?
Help the man that's feeding you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm paying for that data that you're sucking up.
Right. So, but we'll make sure that all the connectivity to Brandon, to Mountain Archery Fest, everything that you guys are doing. If you're interested in hitting up one of the events, I mean, I don't know how you could sell it much better than you just did in the last hour or so, and just why it's such a unique event and why it's so much fun and the family aspect and everything else. If you're telling yourself like, man, I'd love to go, but you got a but in there somewhere, that I know right on your webpage, you're always looking for people to help out, right? And if that's maybe your barrier of entry to get there, go check out the website,
Put some sweat equity into it.
Put some sweat equity in there, get your butt out and be part of the math team and get an opportunity to be part of these events. They're going to be awesome. There's 7 of them coming up. First one's coming up April 21st. Out in Rome, Georgia, and then the march westward starts to move from there. So you got a lot of opportunities across the country where people can get out and be part of these events. So we encourage you to do that, and it's good to take a little bit of time. I know how busy you are, and appreciate it. It's been awesome to get a chance to meet you in person recently, and then circle back now and have you on the show. So, man,
it's been a huge pleasure, you guys. Thanks for having me on. It's an honor to be on your podcast. You guys are great. It was a pleasure to meet you, Jason, and
likewise.
Thanks so much for the opportunity and helping us get the information out there. And I can't wait for you guys to show up and come and shoot and hang out with me a little bit and have some fun.
Yeah, we're all about it. So all the best in the season, because I know I'll try and keep up with you a little bit, but you're going to have people pulling you in 100 different directions moving forward here. So keep your sanity, man, and keep doing what you're doing. And I know like good things will always follow good people, man, and we're pumped for you. So thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.